Hello, everybody. I'm John Willis. I'm Senior Director of Global Transformation at Red Hat. This presentation is called Security Differently. And so I work for Red Hat, as I said. I've been there a year and a half. If you recognize some of these people, about 18 months ago, Andrew Clay Schaefer on the left invited us to come in to build this team at Red Hat, and it's been just a blast. So Andrew Clay Schaefer on the left. To the right of him is Kevin Bear. You probably know him as co-author of the Phoenix Project. That's me, the short guy, if you don't know me. And Jay Bloom has been working with Kevin Bear for years, working on his PhD in design transition. He really anchors the team brilliantly. So one of the things I've been trying to ask this question, I've been looking at this DevSecOps. If we go back, we look at DevOps. DevOps is, probably 12 years old. I like to say rounded down to 10, but it's like 12 years old by the name, the definition of the name. And DevSecOps is probably like 7 years, but I like Shannon Leitz. Shannon Leitz, who coined the term DevOps, wrote, the DevSecOps manifesto in 2015. And one of the things I've been thinking about, like this meta question, is what would DevSecOps look like if DevOps never existed, right? And hold on for a second. And I know that's a terrible way to express this, but I wonder if all the good we've done in DevSecOps, did we try to solve a security problem using the lens of DevOps? In other words, did we take this square peg and just jam it into a round hole where a lot of things look like they worked, we've advanced, but maybe we really haven't changed the behavior that we wanted, right? I'd love to talk more about this if this is confusing to you or not. But what as I visit companies, I look, people who have good hygiene, or what we would call high performing organizations. And I'll see a lot of companies that have, high performance traits in terms of how they deliver software. And then they've been very serious about bolting on or abstracting a security overlay on their DevOps, modern delivery model. So they might be doing their SaaS and DaaS and all those things. And I say that's a great thing, right? So the glass is definitely half full in terms of DevSecOps. But then those same organizations, when I talk to them, they'll talk about these structures like the 3 lines of defense, and sometimes it's an updated 2 lines, but it's lines, right? And it's this idea where you're creating these walls or firewalls by design, like the team that implements the control, the team that owns the control, and then if they don't catch it, if the first one doesn't get it, second catches it, and internal audit, right? And I think about the original problem statement of DevOps, right, which was what Andrew Clay Schaefer introduced at Velocity 2009, right? He had a presentation called Agile Infrastructure, and he basically talked about this, development wanting change, this wall of confusion between the two from operations, and we all know this sort of story here, we want to bust down the wall of confusion. So I also think about, when I think about the 3 lines of defense, I think about the Conways law, right? A lot of times in modern presentations, we talk about Conways law as moving from, waterfall, or not just waterfall, but monoliths to microservices. But it also has an effect on just general organizational design, right? So the adage stating that organizational design systems mirror the communication structure. I'll give you a great example. If you ever had a chance to look at the Equifax breach, Congress did a really good report and write-up on this. And one of the things, there were many things that were very interesting. One of the things was the actual CISO reported to the chief legal officer. So under testimony, when the CISO was asked, how come you didn't report the breach to the CIO? The answer was, I didn't think about it. I mean, that organizational design and communication structure was set up to fail because the CISO is now reporting back to the chief legal officer, and that's the lens of and again, there were many other things there. So if I look at the 3 line of defense, I'll take this liberty of saying possible that there are walls of confusion between these two. And possible, I know in a lot of organizations, this is the case. What do we want to do? In DevSecOps, we're striving to take some of the opportunities that we had and created in DevOps. But in the cases where we're falling back to these, not changing the security model, just putting the square peg in the round hole, we're not getting the full value of collaborative, where we really want is internal, internal audit, and we want second line defense control owners. like we want you to be all together in the sort of the initial story and requirements and design, right? And I can go on and on, but so again, this is just one of many examples I see that made me raise that question about, would we be doing DevSecOps differently if there wasn't a DevOps? And so a lot of the things that I've been working, I work in a couple of working groups, and I'll tell you, this thing came up in one of the working groups that we're doing focused on cloud, but it's a general way to look things. You call it minimal viable security posture, or just minimal viable security. And the question that needs to be asked is, how do you prove that you're safe? And then how do you demonstrate that you're secure? And how do you do both? And it seems easy, but if you think about how we do things mostly today, is the way we prove we're safe is typically change records, or what I would call implicitly defined or subjectively defined information, like humans describing stuff and those humans basically verifying other humans. And then the way we demonstrate really is audits, right? We do audits, and those are, pretty much subjective, high toil. And so is there a way that we can actually get true, I want to prove that we're safe and demonstrate? And I'm going to propose that there are some models. And so this idea I've been playing with for a while now called modern governance. And so the idea in general, if we're going to do security differently, then we need to think about any place we see implicit security models, can we be moving them to explicit proof-based models? Along those same lines, in order to transition